Mishnah learning today is sponsored by Joshua Goldberg in memory of his grandfather, Mike White, Mayor Ben Rabbi Yeshua Valeah, on his first yard site. To sponsor a day of learning, go to mishnah.co/support.
Shabbat Parakaf Aleph, Mishnah Aleph. We're on the 21st chapter of Shabbat, first Mishnah. So we're going to continue talking about the different aspects of Muktzeh on Shabbat. I want to clarify, it's really important. This is not a halacha shiur. It's a shiur in Mishnah. So this shiur is in order to give us a broader understanding of the issues surrounding Shabbat, but one should not confuse it with a shiur on halacha and how a person should act. I should say that all the time, but I want to make that clear. So Mishnah says the following. Natil Adam et bino v'ha'even biyado. A person can pick up his child even though the child has an even, has a rock in his hand. The even is Muktzeh. The little baby is holding onto the rock. He won't get rid of the rock. And he wants me to pick him up. I'm allowed to pick him up as long as he's holding onto the rock. So first of all, the Bartunerist is very important. The reason I actually gave that little introduction, the warning beforehand, is because the Mishnah seems to say one thing, meaning it seems to be much more lenient than we are. And along comes the Gemara and qualifies that. You find that a lot. That the Mishnah seems to say, make a blanket statement. The Gemara comes along and says, well, that's only in this situation or that situation. So it's important to clarify that that statements that seem like blanket statements are very often qualified. So this is one great example. Person can pick up his child even though the child's holding a rock. So first of all, the Bartuner says, bechatzer. That's only, it's not a Meshutei Rabim, because if the child is holding a rock in Meshutei Rabim, if the child can't carry himself, then we say, you're not allowed to pick up your child unless it's really sakanat nefashot. But otherwise, you can't. Secondly, it's bechatzer because otherwise you're moving something, arba amot Meshutei Rabim. Okay? And Kahati says that the Gemara even qualifies it even further. He says it's only if the tinok she'esho ga'aguim alaviv, the child really wants the father and he's going to get sick otherwise. Otherwise, you can't pick up the child if he's holding onto the rock. Similarly, kalkila v'ha'even bitocha. You can pick up a basket that has an even, that has a rock in it. Seems like very simple. Sounds like a regular basket, okay, or like a normal basket, like that's got a rock in it. No. The Bartuner comes along based on the Gemara says the following. Hushiu perot basal. It's not an empty basket. It's a basket full of fruit. She'im ein bo perot. If there's no fruit in it, naaseh basis ledavar ha'asur. This is a very important term in Muktzeh. It becomes what's called a basis ledavar ha'asur. A basis means a base. Chazal instituted the following. If I have something that I intentionally, let's say I have a table, and on that table, I keep my computer. Computer is asur. That table is called the basis davar asur. And therefore, from the beginning of Shabbat, I can't move that table. I'm not allowed to handle it or move it at all. Even though a table is something that I can move, it's a kli. No. Once it becomes from Shabbat, I intentionally leave it as a basis, a base for something that's asur, basis davar asur. That becomes muktzeh as well. Okay, so the basket, if it only has a rock in it, and I wanted it that way, then it's a basis l'davar ha'asur. But if it has perot in it, then it becomes a basis l'davar, okay, v'tzarich she'am yishu bo tocho perot. It has to have fruit. She'im, one second, and because if it has fruit in it, then it's what's called basis l'davar ha'asur v'hamutar. It's a basis for something that's both prohibited and permitted, and then the whole table doesn't become a basis l'davar ha'asur. This has important halachic ramifications as well. And he also says the following. Okay, now the implication is I can move a basket and if it has a rock. Now it's a basket with a rock and fruit. But it also has to be fruit. One second. Perot, certain kinds of fruit. Why can't I just, then I remember we learned, tiltu min hatzad, push them out and they'll fall on the ground. So he says it has to be like tutim v'anavim, grapes, or strawberries, or similar fruits, that if I push them out, they get gross. It'll ruin the fruit. If I got just nuts in it, that's again, remember we learned the idea of tiltu min hatzad. Use the basket in order to I've got fruit in it, push off the egozim, and I won't directly move the stone. I can't pick up the basket in that case. Okay? And he says even more than that. And if they're gross fruit that will be ruined, what if I could just push them to the side and push out the rock? I have to do that. So we have a Mishnah that says, notel adam kalkala be'evan biyatocha. You're allowed to take a basket with a rock in it. Sounds like I could take an empty basket with a rock in it. No. The Gemara comes along and says that's only if it's got a rock in fruit. And it's only if it's fruit that will get ruined. And if only it can't move away the fruit. And it's only if I can't push the fruit to the side. So all of these, the Mishnah seems to say one thing, but the Gemara comes along, the Bartenura explains, and qualifies it to a great degree. Let's continue. Similarly, if I have a basket of truma tehora and chulin, truma tehora I can give to the kohen, chulin I'm allowed to eat. If there's also truma tmeya in the basket, I'm allowed to move it all at the same time. And again, I'm moving something that's asur, but only together with something that's mutar at the same time. And the Kahati comes along and says, similar rules. Can I get the tmeya out? Can I push it to the side? All of those things apply as well. Rabbi Yehuda says, okay, so according to the way the Bartenura explains, this halacha has nothing to do with what we learned about Muktzeh at all. It has to do with designating truma or separating truma from a mixture that it was mixed in. Meduma, let's say I have, when a truma is batel in 1 to 100. I'll write that down. Truma, okay, it's a mixture. Oh, let's see. Truma, okay, is bitela, and a mixture of 1 to 100. So if I have 1 to 99 or less, that's called meduma. Meduma means prohibited mixture. I have to give it to the kohen, I have to sell it to the kohen and give him the rest of the mixture. So let's say it's 1 to 50, for example. My truma fell in, my kilo of truma fell into 50 kilo of chulin. That's meduma. Okay, if it fell into 1 to 100, it's batel. So the Bartenura says the following: Sa'ah shel truma, a sa'ah of truma shenafla b'mea sa'in shel chulin. It's batel. It fell 1 to 100. But what I have to do is I can't eat the whole thing. I have to take the one and give it to the kohen because I know that there's one truma in there, even though the whole thing is batel. Mutar laha'alotar lisa'el shel truma me'am b'Shabbat. So if that one fell into the 100 kilo on Shabbat, I can take, according to Rabbi Yehuda, take that one out. V'yu kulam chulim umutarim lezarim. And it's all chulin, and then the rest I can eat. V'lo amina mitakenu, and it's not considered if I'm fixing. If I have normal tevel, I can't take out truma and give it to the kohen. But here, the truma fell in, and it's batel. Because he holds, Rabbi Yehuda holds, truma shenafla b'chulin. If the truma fell in chulin, chashvinan la ki'ilu munachat levada. It's as if it's like, that truma is sitting on its own on the side. Ve'ena meurevet, and it's not mixed in. Uksheola be'echad umeyah truma atzma shenafla ula. And when it's batel, i.e. it's more than 1 to 100, then I just take out the truma. It's like it's sitting there waiting for me to take. Hilkach, therefore, la mitakenu. It's not like I'm mitaken, I'm fixing something. The truma is on the side. It's on the side of and therefore I'm just taking it out. But of course, ve'en alachak Rabbi Yehuda. We don't pass in like Rabbi Yehuda. So that's the Mishnah, the meaning of the Mishnah according to the interpretation of the classical interpretations. Rabbi Yehuda says, Av ma'alin meduma be'echad me'ah. You're allowed to ma'alin, to take out the meduma. But the problem with this Mishnah is it's not really meduma, it's that which became mixed in, but not in prohibited sense. Be'echad me'ah. 1 to 100. I'm going to tell you there are other interpretations of the Mishnah. If you want to look them up, feel free. But I'm going too long already, so we'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, as always, email me at rspolter@gmail.com. Let me find it. There we go. As always, and we'll dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a great day.